Hi everybody, thanks so much for joining. Here's part one of our print ad series. We're going to show you where we source these magazines that we use to pull the print ads out from. Let's start off with a simple definition and talk a little bit about the history of a vintage print ad. What is a vintage print ad? Vintage is kind of an arbitrary term. It's used nowadays, I think, to describe anything that's 20 years or older. In the instance of these print ads, they're significantly older than that. Most of the ones that we have in our store are from the 50s and prior. Something to keep in mind here from a historical perspective is the importance of these print ads. They were the primary method of advertising for most companies and manufacturers of goods. In the days prior to television and certainly prior to radio, this was the number one way for companies to advertise, was by the use of taking out ads in newspapers and magazines. For that reason, a lot of those advertisements were done very, very well. They were colorful, vibrant, great graphics, and again, it was because that was their number one way of getting their product across to you, the customer. There's actually quite a few places you can grab these magazines. One of them that we're going to mention definitely is an estate sale. Estate sales have all sorts of things, for those of you who've been to one know. And many of the times we'll find a bundle of magazines. Sometimes they're in the living room, sometimes they're in the basement. But if you hunt and peck long enough, you will find some magazines. Some recent magazines we've picked up in estate sales have been McCall's from the 20s and 30s. We found a bunch of Good Housekeeping magazines as well, Life magazine, Time magazine. They're all pretty readily available. If you look in an estate sale and if you ask the person running the estate sale if they have a stack of magazines, that's always a great way to pick up some. Another great source to find vintage magazines is going on to Facebook Marketplace. I'll take you to my screen now and I'll show you how we found a whole bunch of them using that method. Here we are on Facebook Marketplace, and as you can see, I just put a simple search in for vintage magazine lots. I'll click on this one right here. It says $9 for vintage magazines. Let's see what's involved with this one. $9. I have 10 of these magazines. I'm selling from 22 to 52. One of my favorites. Here's an example of a magazine. I'm not sure which one it is, but this little half-page ad for Avon Cosmetics, and the fact that it says Radio City in New York, easily $10-15 just for this one little slice from here to here. There's another example. You have looks like a 30s Plymouth automobile, Plymouth 6. I think we have a few of these in our store actually already. Same thing, not great photography here, but the point is that these magazines contained a whole bunch of ads. There's another one. There's a cover from a Homes and Garden, Better Homes and Gardens from 1940 with a lady looks like she's looking at a gardening guide and having no idea what she's doing. But anyway, you get the drift. There's a whole bunch. Here's another one from 1922. There's a bunch of magazines. And this person is asking for, it looks like $9 for the 10 magazines. Not a great price. You figure a little over $1 each. But again, when you think about the potential profit, like if each one of these magazines has 10 ads of this quality, and you get $10 at least at a minimum for them, is $100 for a $1 investment. I'll take that every day of the week. I think you will too. Here's another one that caught my eye, Life magazines. It says $3. But it's $3 each. Buyer beware here, because that's a lot of money for one magazine. It might not sound like it, but it really is. It's funny. She says 60 to 69 in the first example with Grace Kelly is from 1955. Not my listing. Now, just to clue everybody in, we were lucky enough, my wife actually found right here on Facebook Marketplace. We were looking for Life magazines because we had found a bunch at an estate sale, had a lot of success with them, paid less than $1 per issue, which is always my goal. What my wife found on Facebook Marketplace was somebody out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is about a 5-hour drive from us, was selling a huge collection. There were 650 magazines, and we paid $300. So that's more my speed, less than 50 cents a magazine. Great way is to look out here on Facebook Marketplace for magazine lots. Let's take a look at a couple of the ads that I've been able to pull from our store. I just want to give everybody a sense of what I'm looking for when I'm pulling out these advertisements. Okay, here's a great example. This is a 1924 Chevrolet automobile advertisement taken from a Good Housekeeping magazine. Although it's in black and white, and a lot of those early ones are because they were cheaper, it's still very well done. It's an artistic depiction of a car, of that Chevy car from Detroit. It gives you all kinds of facts about the vehicle. The key here is that there are a lot of car fans out there and a lot of collectors of automobile stuff in general. This would fit very nicely. What we advertise in the description on eBay is the fact that a lot of these things can be framed. They would look fantastic framed. Let's just say if somebody was a mechanic or something like that, they could hang this in their shop. It looks really cool. A very big sales appeal for that. And here's another one, also from Good Housekeeping. This is a couple of years later in 1926. You can see it's an advertisement for cornflakes, but it's not Kellogg's. It's Post Toasties cornflakes. It's amazing the age of some of these. Like, there were grape nut ads from 1910. I didn't even know grape nuts were around in 1910. But they definitely were. And again, this appeals to people that collect cornflake or cereal or food memorabilia of any kind. It could be framed. Looks really sharp in somebody's office. Very cool item. This is an example of probably the hottest field as far as these print ads. It would be World War II items. This is a 1943 advertisement out of Life magazine. It's for Whitman's chocolates, and you see at the bottom right here it says buy more war bonds. That's something you want to put in your listing. We'll get to that in later chapters of this series, but you want to indicate that as a keyword, the war bond thing. World War II. You have a soldier kissing his girl, and the fact that the woman never forgets the man who remembers. Really, really cool. These things fly off the shelf easily, 15 to 20 bucks, just because of the World War II aspect. It's always great to come across ads like this with legends like Groucho Marx in it doing advertising. In this instance, this is a 1947 Life magazine ad. It is for GE lamps or light bulbs. Groucho was promoting a movie. I think it's Copacabana. A lot of Hollywood movie stars and musicians would do advertising like this and tie in some upcoming event, a new movie, a new album coming out. Anytime you have Groucho on something, it's going to instantly add to the value. I think we have this one up for $25, and I'm sure we'll get it. And that'll bring us to the end of part 1 of this series about selling vintage print ads on eBay for a huge profit. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, like and subscribe to the channel. Coming up in part 2, we'll be actually breaking apart a magazine. I'll show you what we look for, how we process the magazines, things to look out for, such as condition, which is king. Again, thanks so much for joining. We'll see you in part 2. Bye-bye.